Hello, thanks for joining this webinar about CISO and the maintenance of the ISMS according to ISO 27001. And yeah, let's just wait a minute for everyone to join. And while we're waiting, could you just let me know where are you joining from? So I'm calling in from Zagreb, from Croatia, and if you can just let me know through the chat window, or if you're joining through Zoom, then you can use this Q&A panel. So just to send, the city and country where you're coming from, just to get a better feeling on where everyone is joining from. While I'm waiting for your feedback, just two notes here. So first of all, we are recording this webinar and you'll be able to watch it basically from the same page where you registered for this webinar. So if you registered on Advisera webpage, then you can actually see you will see the recording there. And if you registered through Zoom, if you registered through LinkedIn or YouTube, then you can actually see the recording basically on the same page where you're watching the live webinar now. The second thing, you'll be able to download this presentation deck, and I'll let you know how to download it at the end of the webinar. So if you can stick to the end of the webinar, I'll explain you where to find this link. Okay, I see two people actually joining. Two people from UK. One is from London. The other one I'm not sure where from, but great. Okay, I'm glad that we have a very good audience in UK. Great. Now I think we can start with the webinar now. So welcome to this webinar called CISO's Role in ISMS Maintenance According to ISO 27001. My name is Dejan Kosutic, and I'm the main ISO 27001 NIS2 and DORA expert at Advisera. And Advisera is a company that makes compliance easy to understand and simple to use. This webinar today is streamed through Zoom, also through LinkedIn Live events and YouTube Live. And it will last approximately 50 minutes, maybe 55, maybe even 60. It depends really on the number of questions that you have. And I'll try to make it as interactive as possible. So, you can ask any questions that you're interested in. And actually, you can ask your questions during my presentation, and I'll answer all of your questions. I'll try to answer all of your questions as I go through the presentation. And of course, at the end, we will have this Q&A session, and you can also send your questions at the end. All right, so let's move on to the next slide. So why is basically this maintenance important? Well, it's important because if your company goes for certification, and if you do not maintain your ISMS, then actually your certificate might be taken away, right? Because the certificate, ISO 27000 certificate is issued on the period of 3 years. And during this year, there are these surveillance audits. So basically where the certification auditor comes and actually reviews if you're maintaining your certificate, your ISMS. You will have the contact with the auditor not only initially when you have this initial certification audit, but also during these maintenance, these surveillance audit, where the auditor will check on your maintenance, right? So it's important that you maintain the ISMS if you want to keep your certificate. And of course, during the webinar, I'll show you how to maintain the ISMS, especially from the perspective of someone who is managing security. So this could be, security officer, security manager, CISO, or anyone like that. And this webinar today is intended for CISOs or for anyone else who is in charge of managing security. This could also be a vCISO or let's say someone who is a consultant who is doing this as a service for their clients. So basically anyone who really takes care about this maintenance. All right, one of my main points today is that you actually have to plan for this maintenance. It is not something that you can do ad hoc. And by the way, I've seen lots of companies, that are basically, preparing all the documents, making sure that everything is right for the initial certification, and then they simply let everything go, and then they start preparing everything 1 or 2 months before the surveillance audit. And this doesn't really make sense, because this is obviously then made only for the auditor. It doesn't have to do anything with real security. So I would say that if you properly maintain your ISMS, and of course I'll explain what this maintenance means during the presentation. If you properly maintain it, first of all, you will have better security, and second of all, you will have actually less effort in doing this, rather than actually trying to do this everything, let's say a couple of weeks before the certification auditor comes for surveillance audit. So try to do it systematically and planned. Okay, so let's see the agenda for today. First of all, I'll try to explain what is this a role of a CISO or a security manager in the ISMS. And then I'll start explaining what will the certification auditor be looking for during these surveillance audits. And then I'll explain who is actually responsible for these maintenance activities. Is this only the security person? Obviously not. This also has to be some other people. And then I'll explain who actually has to do it. And then I'll go through a couple of, let's say, key challenges that companies have during this, let's say, maintenance. And this is how to deal with employees, also how to enable these continuous improvements, and I'll also explain what kind of tools you could use to enable easier maintenance. Okay, good. Yeah, by the way, you can let me know through the chat window if you want me to focus more on any of these topics. So if you want me to, let's say, spend more time, just let me know through the chat window or through this Q&A pane if you want me to kind of go into more detail related to any of these topics. Okay, now let's say first, what is a typical CISO role in the ISMS? Now, funny thing is that ISO 27001 doesn't mention CISO, it doesn't mention security manager, it doesn't mention anything like this. So it's funny, but this is really true. So ISO 27001 does not require a central role for someone who manages security. Now, of course, best practice is that you do have such a person. And to be honest, I've never seen a project that does not have a security manager or someone. Or correct me now, I did see some projects that didn't have a central role that manages security. And yes, all of these projects actually failed. So it's really not recommendable that you do not have such a person. So typically you would have one person who is in charge of managing security. Of course, if you are a company of, let's say, 200 or 500 employees or more, typically this will be a full-time person, a full-time CISO. Whereas if you are smaller than 200 employees, then this will be someone who does the security role in parallel to something else. So, for example, if you are a company of, let's say, 20 employees, then your chief technology officer, CTO, might do actually a part-time job of a CISO. So it's very, I would say, normal kind of thing. In any case, even though 27001 does not require this role, please do specify this one person who will be in charge. Now, who does this person report to? The best practice is that this person, this security manager or CISO, reports directly to the CEO. Especially if this is a let's say, smaller or mid-sized company, then this is, I would say, the best thing to do. Why? Because this way, first of all, you obtain all the resources. You actually get better access to all the resources that are needed for managing security. And I would say equally important, maybe even more important, is that this way it's easier for security to actually support directly business initiatives. And I'll speak a little bit about this later on, but the point being here is that security here is not for itself, right? You're not having security because of security. You're having security because you want to protect your business, but you also, if you want to kind of have an upgraded security, so to say, then this security will directly focus on the business initiatives that are the most important for the company, and therefore security will become a part of the company's success, right? then it becomes an active player, I would say, in company's core business. So this is why I think it's important that the person in charge of security has direct access to the CEO. Okay, now what other people or teams you might have in the company with regards to security? So of course you will have, let's say, someone on the IT side or IT security side. So for smaller companies you will have normally only the IT team, but for larger companies you might have a separate IT security team, right? You might also have a security committee, again, if not if you're a smaller company, but if you are, let's say, mid-size, maybe especially larger companies will also have this security committee. So basically this is a let's say a team of people who actually can discuss security things in more detail with the CISO, and this on one hand, this is a way for these people to, let's say, supervise what the CISO is doing. But on the other hand, this helps a CISO actually communicate with various parts of the organization, with various stakeholders in the organization. So again, these are, I would say, various people, and of course, a CISO, the smaller the company, the more CISO will be alone, in meaning that there will be no other security personnel, whereas of course the larger the company, there will be other security people in the company. So again, the standard 27001 does not specify any of these roles, so it's really up to you to decide what is the most appropriate for your company and how you want to organize this in your company. Another important topic regarding this position is that you should definitely avoid conflicts of interest. And the most common conflict of interest I've seen in smaller companies is that these smaller companies are trying to actually use the same person for both CISO and internal auditor, right? Because actually the role of internal auditor is mandatory according to ISO 27001, unlike the security role. But in any case, you cannot have the same person doing both security management and internal auditing, because the standard requires that there is no conflict of interest for the internal auditor. So it's very important that you avoid this conflict of interest, because if you do have a CISO who is at the same time internal auditor, most probably at the certification audit you will get a major non-conformity. So you should not try to do something like this. How to avoid this? Well, obviously you should give this internal audit job to someone else, either within the company, or you might actually outsource it to an external I don't know, provider, someone who is doing these internal audits as a service. Also, there are some other conflicts of interest in, let's say, larger organizations, especially the regulated organizations like financial institutions. Actually, it's forbidden to have this security officer together, let's say, within the IT team. So you can't really have someone on the tech side do the security management. But again, it's for regulated industries. This is not specified in ISO 27001. So again, for a smaller company, it's okay that a CTO or, let's say, head of IT is also the CISO. But I would say, you know, if you're a larger company, then it's better to, let's say, separate this CISO from the IT function and actually put it as a separate role which directly reports to the CEO, because this is the way to let's say, decrease the conflict of interest. Okay, yeah, and how do you actually document this role? This is sometimes the question that I receive. Now, there are various ways to document what the CISO says. What the CISO does. And my, let's say, personal favorite way is actually that you specify the role of the CISO in various policies and procedures. So, for example, I don't know, when you write a risk assessment methodology, you can specify that actually the CISO is the one that coordinates the whole risk assessment and treatment process. or I don't know, in the case of I don't know, access control policy, you can say that for a certain critical systems CISO needs to give his or her permission for access to those systems. So this is one way to do it, through policies and procedures. Now, some companies actually have a kind of a centralized specification of roles and responsibilities. This could be, let's say, some kind of a job description or something. I'm not very much in favor of this because it's hard to actually maintain this in parallel to, let's say, policies and procedures. But yeah, it's certainly something that is doable, something that I would say lots of companies actually use, this kind of a centralized job description document. Okay, yeah, let me actually we'll share now with you two articles. These articles will help you learn more about this topic. So the first one is what is the job of Chief Information Security Officer in ISO 27001, and the other one is Chief Information Security Officer, where does he belong in an org chart. So these two articles, you can read them, open them and read them just to learn a little bit more. And yeah, so you can actually see these links now in this in the webinar chat window. And if you join the webinar through Zoom or through YouTube, you can simply click those links and they will open in your browser. However, if you join the webinar through LinkedIn, then because of some limitations in LinkedIn, you can't really click those links. But the workaround for this is that you simply copy the URL and paste it into your browser, and then you will be able, this link will open for you. Okay, good. Now let's move on to the next slide. Now, this is really what is the certification auditor going to look for? And by the way, this is not the only slide about this. They also have another slide, so there are quite many things that the certification auditor will be looking for. And before I go actually through these bullets, just to mention that in general, the things that a certification auditor will be looking for during these surveillance audits are clauses 6 to 10. Now, you're probably wondering what are these clauses. So let me now share the screen and show you these clauses. Just give me a second. Okay, I'm showing you now this on Advisera website. I'm showing this article. It's called Big Guide to 27001 Clauses, how is the standard structured. And we also shared now the link with you through this chat window, so you can also open it and see it for yourself. Anyway, when you scroll down, you actually see the clauses, right? So you see these clauses 4, 5, but as I mentioned, this is not so important for the maintenance. What is important for the maintenance is this clause planning, also support, operation, performance evaluation, and improvement. And then, for example, if you want to learn what the clause 9.1 about monitoring, measurement, analysis, evaluation says, you can simply open it and you will see actually that it provides more detail. So you see here the title of this clause, you see a short explanation. You see which documents are needed for this clause. You see what kind of implementation is needed. So basically the steps for implementing it, and also what kind of audit evidence will be sought by the auditor. So going back to this article, general article, you can actually see the links for each of these clauses here, and so you can drill down further and learn yourself. Anyway, you also see the same thing for Annex A. You can see all the controls from the Annex A, and you can also open them and read whatever they say. So for example, I don't know, logging. Again, you will see an explanation for logging here, and what kind of documentation, implementation, audit evidence is needed. Okay, going back to my presentation. So let's see now what the auditor will be looking for more specifically. So the one thing that auditor will be looking for if you actually reviewed your documents periodically. So basically, when you write documents, good practice is that you define who is the document owner and also how often these documents will be reviewed. Okay. So for example, you will say that your, I don't know, risk assessment methodology needs to be reviewed every 1 year, and that the document owner is the CISO, right? And then the CISO basically knows exactly, okay, I need to review this document every year, and then this is how you actually maintain your documents, and this is something that the auditor will be checking if the documents are maintained. Also, periodic review of incidents. What does this mean? This means that basically you should not handle the incidents only when they happen. You should also review them periodically so that you see if there is some pattern happening, so that if you can connect maybe several incidents together. So for example, let's say that you have, I don't know, 18 incidents during a year, and you actually might see that out of these 18, 5 incidents are always related to the same IT system, or maybe to the same person who is handling these systems, and this could actually indicate that something is going wrong there. So you should always review those incidents periodically, and of course, again, this is something that the auditor will be checking out. By the way, we'll be also sharing with you some articles where you can dig deeper. So for example, we'll share now with you this article of how to manage documents according to ISO 27001, so you can learn more about this document handling there. Okay, let me go further. So periodic review of security training. So again, what you should be doing is, of course, continually train your employees. And you should also track the results of this training. So you should basically see, security manager, or I don't know, maybe you have someone who is in charge of training. You should actually review if these goals from this security training were achieved. So did you achieve, let's say, the appropriate level of attendance, the appropriate level of knowledge? All of these kind of things is something that you actually have to review. And we'll also send you now the link to this article, how to perform training and awareness for ISO 27001. The next thing that is periodic or regular is this risk review. So you should review the risks at least, existing risks in the risk register at least once a year. It's better if you do it more often, let's say twice a year, maybe 4 times a year. And again, the auditor will be checking out if you did something like this. Internal audit is also something that you'd have to do regularly, at least once a year. And of course, the certification auditor will check if you perform the internal audit, and if the internal audit auditor has created this internal audit report. And we've shared now with you this link for an article about the internal audit, where you can learn more. And finally, actually this is not the last thing, so I'm not going to say finally. So one of the things that the auditor will check also is if you performed regular management review. Management review, this is also something that you have to do at least once a year. It's again recommended that you do it more often, because security, as you know, is a very dynamic thing. So it's not something that you can speak about only once a year. It's probably something that you actually have to deal with at the senior management level, deal with let's say at least once a quarter, maybe even once a month. So this is why I would suggest that this management review is done more often than once a year. And of course you need to have these management review minutes, which are also mandatory, and this is how the certification auditor will check what you did in this respect. Okay, then what else you need to do? Of course you need to do the execution of the risk treatment plan. So risk treatment plan is basically, well, an implementation plan that specifies how you're going to implement various security controls that you're planning, with what budget, who is in charge, these kind of things. And the auditor will check if you have actually implemented everything that was written there. Also, the auditor will check how the ISMS is operated. Now, this ISMS operation is actually a very wide area, so to say, because it actually covers everything that you do regularly, basically on daily basis. So for example, I've already mentioned this access control policy. In the access control policy, you have to define who approves the access to certain systems. And this kind of an approval has to be done whenever someone needs some kind of an access or something similar to this. and there need to be some records of this approval. So again, this is basically the operation of the ISMS. Or, for example, you might have a backup policy which specifies that you will perform the backup every, I don't know, 12 hours. You know, the execution of this backup policy, so performing the backup every 12 hours is operation of the ISMS. So again, there are some backup logs which will be created automatically, and this is a way for the auditor to check this out. So basically, any kind of security policy or procedure that you have, as a consequence, it will have certain activities, and this is basically what you need to do, and this is this ISMS operation. Okay, now another thing that you need to do, let's say, what the certification auditor will be looking for is that you created these training materials, training programs, including awareness. So basically, the auditor will be, looking for some kind of an evidence that you actually created these materials and that these materials are appropriate for your company. Because you shouldn't, create training for some technology, security training for some technology that you're not using. It wouldn't make sense, right? So you have to create training for something that does make sense for your employees, for your company. There is also, we've shared now a link with you to a YouTube video. And in this YouTube video, you'll actually see I explain actually how to organize 27001 training and awareness. So if you prefer this video format for learning, you can take a look at this video. Also, some of the things that the auditor will check is that if new employees are actually trained for security, if they're onboarded for security. Because obviously, anyone new that is coming to your company cannot know by default what your rules are. So someone needs to explain to him or her what exactly needs to be done with regards to security. Also, you need to handle all kinds of non-conformities, corrective actions. Of course, you need to have this corrective action procedure for that. And again, the auditor will check all the records of corrective actions if this was done properly. You can also see now this article about corrective actions. Another thing that the auditor will check are these monitoring and measure, if you are doing this monitoring and measurement. This is again, I would say, a wider topic where you actually have to first of all, set various objectives and KPIs, and then measure if your company is really achieving those objectives or KPIs. Again, this is something that you have to perform. Typically, this is also the job of a security manager, and this is something that the auditor will be checking. Again, you will see the link to the article which explains how this needs to be done. You also have to communicate all the changes related to security. You do not need to have a document for this, but you need to communicate nevertheless, I would say, systematically to all the important audiences, to all the stakeholders. And this is not only actually to your employees. You also have to communicate security issues to your clients, to regulators, maybe to shareholders. So basically, you need to know exactly who you're communicating with and how. And for smaller companies, this could be done by the CEO, or this could be done by a person in charge of security. For larger companies, this would be typically done by, account managers for, let's say, clients, but also by some kind of PR person and so on. Okay, there is an article also that on how to create this communication plan, and we'll also share now with you a link to an article which speaks about ISMS maintenance in general. So you can see also in this article, I would say, a summary of all these things that I mentioned during this presentation now. Okay, so lots of things, but in any case, I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what this maintenance is about. Good. Now let's move on to the some of the most common challenges that companies have with this maintenance. So for me, it's surprising actually that one of the most common challenges is this continuous improvement. And actually, let me show you the poll that I recently published. So this is the poll I published like a week ago, and the question was, what are the biggest ISMS maintenance challenges for companies that are ISO 27000 certified? As you can see, more than 50% of people actually mentioned continuous ISMS improvement as the biggest challenge. And this is what, 53%, 85 votes. So it's already a pretty big number of people who actually voted for this. Okay, second one is limited resources, and then employee training and awareness. So going back to my presentation, how actually to achieve this continuous or continual improvement. Let's say the easiest way, and usually the way that companies are starting here is by let's say noticing these non-conformities. And in the beginning, it's usually only the internal auditor that basically sees these non-conformities and reports them. But the more employees actually get used to this security or ISMS, then they actually you should somehow stimulate your employees that they also report the non-conformities themselves, because this is actually the way that you start moving things around. And when I say non-conformities, I mean that anything that is not right. Okay, so for example, internal auditor might find that for backup, you're doing the backup every 24 hours instead of every 12 hours, according to your backup policy, and then this would be a non-conformity. But I mean, any employee could raise a non-conformity as well, and basically they could say that for example, something that let's say that not every employee is handling, let's say closing down their PC when they go for a break, right? And then this kind of non-conformity can be reported, and then someone can react actually to those things. And yeah, then the second, I would say, level of this continual improvement is that you start doing these corrective actions. And corrective actions are, I would say, a systematic way of handling non-conformities. And this is actually something that has to deal with the root cause. Because, if you, for example, let's say this example of that not everyone is locking their screen when they go for a break. You can tell to this, you can simply, send them again an email or some kind of a message that they have to do it. And they might actually remember this, I don't know, one time or for another day, but then they will start forgetting it again. So basically you have to uncover what is the root cause. And very often the root cause is that people are not aware of all the risks that could happen. And then, for example, the root cause, if really that a root cause is that people are not aware of the risks, then if you organize an awareness training and tell them, look, if you're not locking your screen, this and this and this can happen. Therefore, it's in your best interest that you actually lock your screen when you leave for a break. And then basically in this way, you eliminate the root cause, and then you see that these kind of things are starting to get much better. So corrective actions is all about finding the underlying root cause and then fixing this root cause so that the non-conformity cannot happen again. And then I would say the next level of, I would say, continuous improvement is that you are persistently working on this security culture. And this is, well, something that obviously the security officer needs to work on. And basically this is something that is not very easy to do. This is, I would say, a job that is continuous, it never stops. And ultimately this is about letting everyone, or let's say embedding into everyone's mind that security is basically a job of every person, not only of security officer, not only of the IT team. This is also a job, something that needs to be taken care of by, let's say, marketing people, sales people, financial people, and so on. So this is basically embedding this security culture. And also related to this is this culture of small improvements. So whenever anyone notices that, let's say, I don't know, maybe a document is not good enough, maybe this backup policy is not written well, so that not everyone understands how, let's say, backup needs to be performed or who needs to perform it, then these kind of, let's say, small things, basically, if you somehow stimulate people to suggest these smaller improvements, then this is a way forward for your security and for your, not only for improving your security, but also raising your security culture. Okay, so this is, let's say, my view on how to achieve this continuous improvement. We'll also share now with you this link to this article, how to establish ISO 27001 corrective actions using an online tool. So you will see an article that speaks about how to, let's say, report corrective actions, how to analyze root cause, these kind of things, and you will see also this tool 𝗂𝗵𝗶𝘀𝗀 with which you can do this. Okay, now another, let's say, challenge is what CISO can do him or herself, what he or she should delegate and what he or she should not delegate. So let's go first through the things that, or in general. So I would say that most of the things that are, let's say, in the security domain can be delegated to other people. So for example, CISO does not need to write all of the documents, okay? CISO does not need to, I don't know, configure the technical, whatever, IT equipment or software or whatever you're using. This can all be done by someone else. But I would say that CISO should not delegate, or that this person must do the following 5 bullets. The first one is understanding business needs and how security can support them. Let's say that the company is planning to, let's say, expand into a completely new target segment, into a completely new market, let's say financial entities, okay, in Europe. Now, if you want to expand into this kind of a market, if you want to become a supplier of financial organizations in Europe, then you have to actually comply with some standards. Then these financial entities will require a pretty tight level of security. So if actually a company wants to penetrate this market, they will need to raise their security. Now, this is something that this business direction is something that the CISO needs to understand, so that he or she can actually timely suggest to the senior management on what kind of security is needed if the company wants to make a successful penetration of this market. So the point being here is that this is something that the CISO cannot delegate to someone else, because he or she needs to be very much informed on where the company is heading from the business side, so that actually this security can support this kind of a business direction. Also, I think the CISO should propose the top-level security objectives. This is kind of related to the first bullet, but top-level security objectives are mandatory according to the standard, and I think it's the CISO is in the best position actually to define, or better to say, quantify, or somehow make it crystal clear what exactly the company needs to achieve with security that will be, I would say, acceptable and desirable from the senior management. Okay, the next thing I think that CISO should not delegate is driving the security effort and building security culture. So I think that security needs one central person who is the driving force, and this is the CISO, right? So, and I don't think that this can be delegated. I think that this person needs to be, the main person that drives everything. Also be the main link between senior management and security operations. Again, senior management is not going to understand, I don't know, a report of 15,000 smaller incidents, and out of which 68 are in red. It's not something that senior management can understand. So CISO, on the other hand, can interpret these results and present them to the senior management so that a business person can understand this. And this is why I think that this CISO should not delegate this. He or she should be the main person for these kind of things. Again, taking the leadership role. This is really what this CISO should be. What should be the focus of this person. Okay, good. Now let's go through another challenge of how to deal with this employee resistance. This is, if you remember from this poll, one of the most important things, or one of the biggest challenges. There are basically a couple of methods. I'll go through two of them. One is to raise awareness and training. So the more people are aware of why security is needed, the more they will understand the logic of it, right, and the necessity of it. And of course, the more they're trained for using some security tools, the easier they will accept that this needs to be done. Also, what I would say is that it's very important that you actually ask as many stakeholders in the company to participate in creation of security policies and procedures. Because, for example, if this backup policy is written completely without anyone from the IT team, then you can be sure that this backup policy is not going to be applicable in practice. You can't simply write this document without the involvement of some people that are really executing this backup on the daily level. So you should always ask for opinion for people who will actually be acting according to these policies and procedures. And by that, you will first of all get a better document, and second, you will get their commitment, because if they participate in creation of these documents, then they will be more likely to, I would say, follow their own rules or the rules that they participated in when creating. Okay, we'll send you now the link to this YouTube video where I explain how to implement ISO 27001 training and awareness in a SaaS or a tech company. So you will see a video which actually shows how to use some tools to do it. And yeah, generally the aims when dealing with employee resistance is to improve their knowledge. Okay, so the more they know, the more they will understand. Improve their commitment, especially if they participate in creating some documents, and of course to improve processes and documents. And when you actually achieve these aims, then you will also have a much lower employee resistance. I'm not saying that this employee resistance will go away completely. Unfortunately not. There will always be some resistance, but you can actually decrease it drastically, and this is actually what is the most important here. Okay, how to use tools to enable this maintenance. There are, I would say, at least 3 types of tools that you can use. The first are tools like task management tools, and this is like Jira or Trello or Asana, Monday, Notion. All these kind of tools actually enable you to list the tasks in various ways. And if you go back to my slides and see what kind of tasks you need to perform, you can very easily then list all of these tasks and assign who is responsible for them, so that you can do them actually continuously or in some reasonable sequence, right? Besides, let's say, these task management tools, you can also use training and awareness tools. And there are various tools out there, or various platforms out there, and one of them is this company, Advisera's company training academy. I'll show you this in a second. And there is also there are various GRC tools. GRC stands for governance, risk and compliance. And there are again various tools or platforms out there, and one of them is Conformia, which I will also show you. So let me now switch my screen and show you these 2 platforms. So one is this company training academy from Advisera, and basically this is a training platform for creation of security awareness training, also training for 27001, these kind of things. And yeah, let me just show you briefly this lesson library. So you have various lessons here, and just to show you, so you have for various frameworks, including this general cybersecurity. This is cybersecurity awareness. and also ISO 27001 specific, and you can also upload your own videos or, I don't know, PDFs or PowerPoint presentations. And there are different audiences for which this is made, and different languages. As you can see, we have almost 10 languages now. I'll show you very briefly how to create, how actually easy it is to set up a new training. So you just click this option here. You say, okay, general cybersecurity, this is cybersecurity awareness. And you simply want to create a cybersecurity awareness for a certain audience, because this is not something that you can actually, you can't push the same videos to all people. So you have to define for which audiences this is applicable. So let's say that I want to create a security awareness program for a member of security committee. Okay, you select this option. You can actually see there are various languages. So here you actually select your country and the language. You move on. And then you define which lessons you want to include here. So you see there are various lessons, and you also see references to various controls. You can preview the videos and so on. You can of course remove several videos if you don't see them as applicable. So, and then you move on. Let me show you how this works. And then you define actually how often you want the employees to see this. So you can say, I want you to I want the employees to see this one lesson not per day, but let's say per every 2 weeks, and that you want them to see this on Thursdays, and you define the start date, and if you want to repeat, let's say every 2 years, so that it's repeating every 2 years, and then continue, and then you can enter the email addresses of all these people, and then the system will automatically start email notifications to these people in this very sequence that that was mentioned here. And then after that, once they start watching the videos, you will see a very nice reporting module where you can actually see exactly, you know, who watched which kind of a video. There is also a testing feature if needed, and so on. So basically it works it's very easy to set up. Anyway, Judith is asking, do you also offer white label for your training material? So we offer actually a white label version of this company training academy, and it's a version for consultants. So typically consultants are using this when working with their clients, and the way to do it is basically open this specific type of account as a consultant, and then when your clients log in, they will not see Advisera anymore, because you see now here is Advisera. Instead of Advisera, they will actually see your logo in the user interface. So basically this is how we handle this white label. Of course, you can upload your own materials, your own videos, your own, I don't know, PowerPoint presentations, PDFs, and this is also how you present your training material there. Okay, we've shared now with you this link to Company Training Academy, where you can set up this also free trial. And the second link is for this Company Training Academy for consultants. So you can take a look at the second link if you're a consultant and if you want to learn more. Okay, another platform is this 𝗂𝗶𝗀𝗶𝘀. So 𝗂𝗶𝗀𝗶𝘀 is also Advisera's product which helps companies implement and maintain their ISMS. So implementation is here through these steps. I'm not going to cover this now, but here is this maintenance module, which basically lists all of the things that have to be done regularly. As you can see, you know, there are various things here, and it also defines what is the schedule on when is the next date when you actually have to perform this kind of activity. So basically it's a reminder of everything that you have to do to maintain your ISMS regularly. Okay, I'm not going to go into much more detail here, so if you want, we'll send you now also this link to sign up for a free trial, and then you can test how this 𝗂𝗶𝗀𝗶𝘀 software works. Okay, going back to my presentation. Yeah. So, okay, what are the biggest challenges? I'm not going to go now into this. I'm not sure if we will have time to cover all these issues. So let me just go for the Q&A session. Sorry, to conclusion and then to a Q&A session. So I would say, you know, just to conclude, you know, if you plan your ISMS maintenance properly, and perform it, I would say, regularly, then you will definitely invest less time doing these things, let's say, as opposed to doing this, once a year only because of the auditor. And on top of this, what you will see, if you do this regular maintenance and if you do this periodically and properly, then you will actually raise your level of security and reduce the number of incidents. So the point being here is that this is something that needs to be planned, and if planned properly, then you will achieve results. And of course, you can use a GRC tool like Conformio or a training platform like Company Training Academy to perform this maintenance. Okay, we'll also share now a link with you to our product expert. Again, one way is for you to simply open these links and sign up for a free trial for this Company Training Academy for Conformio, but other way is actually to schedule a call with our product expert, and then he will actually show you how these products work. So it's really up to you how to test them out. And you can see this link for his calendar in the chat window now. Okay, good. Now let's move on to the Q&A session. Of course, please do send me all of your questions through the chat window or through this question pane in the Zoom, if you're joined through Zoom. And while I'm waiting for your questions, I'll actually go through a couple of announcements here. So first of all, you can contact me directly to my email address, and you'll see the email address now on the screen. And second thing is you can follow me on YouTube and on LinkedIn. So on YouTube, I publish lots of videos on ISO 27001, but also around cybersecurity training, cybersecurity implementation, also about some other standards. So if you want to kind of learn through this video format, then you can take a look at my YouTube profile. And on LinkedIn, I publish regularly some news from this compliance and cybersecurity world. So if you want to learn more and keep up to date, then you can follow me on LinkedIn. You can also see on my YouTube profile, you can see the Secure and Simple podcast. And this podcast is made specifically for consultants and for CISOs. So if you want to kind of, let's say, learn more about how to handle cybersecurity governance, then especially from the perspective of a consultant or CISO, then you can open this podcast and see there are several people I interviewed there and very interesting guests there. Okay. Good. My next just a note about my next webinar. This will actually be on how to build a cybersecurity training and awareness program. So if you want to learn more about this, then you can actually join my next webinar next Wednesday. And you'll also see the links to my webinars, where to sign up for the webinars in the chat window now. Okay, good. Let me see if any questions came in. So I see a question from Miodrag, and the question is, main improvements should be made through a risk treatment plan. This is one way to do it. So the standard doesn't really say, if you want to do this continual improvement, what is the main document through which you have to do it. You can do it through the risk treatment plan, even though, again, risk treatment plan is typically related directly to statement of applicability and all the controls that you marked there as applicable. And if you didn't implement them, then you're basically, let's say, this is reflected in your risk treatment plan. Yes, if you have some bigger initiatives for, let's say, some new controls or some bigger, let's say, projects for security, then you should definitely put them in a risk treatment plan, and you're right. But I would say for some smaller improvements, typically you're not putting them in the risk treatment plan. So I would say risk treatment plan is good if you have something completely new or something bigger, whereas the smaller improvements are typically done in some other way. Okay, let me see if there are any other questions coming in. Okay, if there are no other questions, then let me wrap up the webinar. So just a few words before we finish. So as I mentioned, this webinar today was intended to give you an overview of ISO 27001 maintenance and the role of the CISO, and not really to go into details of, I don't know, implementation or risk assessment or anything like this. But of course, if you want to learn more about these things, then you can check out these platforms that I shared with you today. So 𝗂𝗲𝗶𝘀 and Company Training Academy. Yeah, regarding this PDF presentation deck, we'll publish the link so that you can download this PDF presentation deck. You will actually see this link if you joined through YouTube or if you joined through LinkedIn. Then you will see this link in the comment section in about 10 minutes. So just leave this page where you are now on LinkedIn or YouTube and come back in 10 minutes and you will see this link in the comments section. If you joined through Zoom, then we will send you this link after the webinar through email, and so this will be latest by tomorrow morning. So you will have this link for downloading the presentation deck in your email. And finally, I would kindly ask you to give me a feedback on how you like this webinar through a survey. You'll also see a link to this survey, and yeah, it's very short. It's about 3 questions, so no more than 30 seconds of your time, but this will really help me on understand what I need to improve in these webinars. And thank you very much. Thank you for your participation, and I hope you have